you tell us a little bit about what WTTC is up to?
Well, we are up to create awareness about the importance of travel and tourism among governments and the media, by the way. We have been doing that for the last 20 years, and somehow we have been successful. Politicians recognize the importance of travel and tourism. The next step now is to go from lip service to action. Let's start with the heavy examples. Infrastructure. The airports, air traffic control, roads are becoming too small for the growth of travel and tourism. And we foresee, if nothing is done, in the next 10 years, places like London, like Newark, becoming too small to handle all the passengers. And that is something very serious, because travel and tourism represents 10% of the world GDP, a lot of jobs. You remember we did a summit in Washington 2 years ago.
I was there.
You were there. And we had Miss Condoleezza Rice, Mr. Chertoff, Mr. Gutierrez. We had my good old friend Norm Mineta. They all promised to do something. I don't think that we are there yet. I'm not going to talk about immigration, about visa issues, but I'm talking about hardcore investment in infrastructures. And it cannot be done without the government. Public and private sector have to do things. You know the main difficulty we have is that an airport, to construct an airport from A to Z takes 20 years. And the political lifespan of a politician is 3 to 4 years. How are we going to make them long-term decisions? And people have the choice. If it's difficult to get a visa for the US, you go to Croatia, you go to Latin America, you go to Dubai, you go to India. So in other words, what we have now, which is a very powerful weapon with the private sector, is to say we develop our business. We develop our business overseas. Companies like Marriott have a huge program of investment in China. So we develop overseas. And if you government don't listen, don't give us the right tools, we invest somewhere else. I think the US is and will remain the biggest travel and tourism economy in the world, thanks to the private sector. The private sector makes more promotion, and that's not difficult because the promotional budget for the US is $7 million. The private sector, all the hospitality, all the airlines make much more promotion for the US than the government ever does. Except that, going back to what you said, it's much easier to work with countries like Dubai, with countries like Thailand, with countries like China even, than the US, because those countries have understood the importance of travel and tourism, have understood that it creates jobs, and you can imagine how important it is in countries like that to create jobs. We have a very close relationship with TBR and TIA. And, sometimes we use their research in our press releases. I don't know if you remember, a year ago I made a press conference in New York at the occasion of our executive committee, which is always every year in October in New York. Mm-hmm. And I did say what exactly TIA and TBR say to the government. How is it possible that the inbound traffic has decreased 17% over the last 8 years, while the world has increased by 17%? But you have other issues like human resources. I'm going to go around the world, and I have started in Shanghai 2 weeks ago to make seminars about how can we get those much needed young people, how can we get those much needed managers to manage our hotels, to manage our airlines, to manage our tour operating systems. How can we educate them? How can we make them feel that they are joining an industry which gives them a future? So all those issues we are talking about. And You know, what was interesting in Shanghai 2 weeks ago is that maybe it's the first time in my life, and I have been around a little bit, that the Chinese audience was asking questions. And we had a very proactive debate because it's important for them.